Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to another edition of the Desert Gridiron Gameplan. James Poovey coming to you live here alongside my broadcast partners, Mr. Ed Cole and Parker Gurash. Gentlemen, looking forward to another great show. We got another great Thursday Night Kickoff matchup this week featuring the Yuma Criminals and the Tempe Buffaloes. And then we're also going to talk about a big game on Friday night coming up. And that game features the Pinnacle Pioneers at the Tolleson Wolverines. How you guys doing? Are you ready to talk some football?
Of course, we're already in week 3 of the season. Man, this season is rapidly flying. But as you mentioned, we're excited to go to Tempe. This is our first time going there to watch Yuma and Tempe. That should be a good game too. 0-2 teams, Parker. 2 teams desperate to get a victory. 2 teams that do not want to go 0-3 to start the season.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. My cord unplugged from my laptop, so I might have went off screen for a second. But, yeah, it's going to be a really interesting game. Doing a little bit of homework that I've been able to do so far for these 2 teams. Yuma, blowout losses in their first 2 games, 41-14 and then 50-6. They're not going to want to lose another game like that. But, again, Tempe, they were solid last year. They got a lot of good talent coming back, but again, they're wanting to get their first win on home field again too. So it's going to be it's definitely going to be a very good test, I think, for both of these teams.
Unfortunately, we're not able to have any representatives from Yuma High School join us tonight. I wasn't able to get a hold of anyone out there, but they got some star players. They've played some really close games over the past couple of seasons, and one of the guys they have out there for the Yuma Criminals is Andrew Mosqueda, a star wide receiver who also plays some defensive back, and this young man can play football, guys.
Yeah, Park, you mentioned some of the stats he had last year. Mosqueda, he had a great season, averaged about almost 90 yards receiving a game. He had almost, 900 yards receiving and like 8 touchdowns. Is that what he had, Park?
Yeah, I got it for you right here. He had 8 total touchdowns for 855 on the offensive side, but then he also had 3 interceptions as that defensive back that James had mentioned as well. So a lot of great size according to his Max Preps account. He's standing at 6'4", 190. I'm sure he's put on a little bit more size, a little bit more muscle. So he could be closer to that 200-pound range. But, yeah, he's a very talented wide receiver and definitely one of the bigger threats on the offensive side for the Criminals.
Yeah, J.P. Park, he led the team in tackles last season with 30 solo. Led the team in solo tackles as well, 4 TFLs, the sack that you mentioned, and 3 interceptions, a sack, 2 passes defensed, two forced fumbles. So this young man can do it all offensively and defensively. So it'll be fun to watch him in a couple of days to see him go out to Tempe and do work.
You know, as we talked about a little bit earlier, something's going to have to give on Thursday night as it was a really close game between these 2 teams last season. The Yuma Criminals just losing by 2 as they hosted the Tempe Buffaloes out there in Yuma. So we should be in for another exciting matchup this time around. And I don't know. Obviously, Yuma's going to be looking for that revenge to come out and try to get one on the road, just like the Tempe Buffaloes did last year, Ed.
And one of the things that really doomed Yuma last year is that they didn't win a single game at home. That was their problem. They couldn't score any points last season, scored just under 200 points over 10 games. That's not going to get it done. You got to score way more points than that in high school if you want to come out victorious. And as you mentioned, JP, last September 1st, they lost 25-23 against Tempe. So as you mentioned, they're looking to get some revenge in their building. So we'll have some fun on Thursday night. Again, these 2 teams, 0-2, desperate, and they're looking for their first victory of the season. If you want to have any chance of making a run for the playoffs, Parker, you've got to win. You cannot go 0-3 and expect to run off 7 straight and potentially make the playoffs. One of these teams has to come out victorious tonight, get that first victory of the season.
Yeah, I mean, ask Florida State with that 0-2 start they've had the first 2 weeks of the college football season. Their playoff chances are not looking good. One thing I looked at about Tempe, too, their first 2 games have been on the road. So this is going to be their home opener as well for them. 48-0 loss against Valley Christian, 44-34 loss, a little bit better against Santan Foothill. So this game against Yuma, they're going to want to, again, make another statement, but again, make a big statement in their first home game of the season.
I'm extremely excited for our first game over at Tempe High School this coming Thursday on Thursday Night Kickoff on CW7 Arizona. We've never been out there, but the interactions I've had so far with head coach Sean Freeman and the players there at Tempe High, they really seem to be building something special out there, and this is going to be a fun game for sure on Thursday night, and we hope you guys tune in.
Oh, yeah, as you mentioned, Park, their first home game, their home opener, the first of 3 straight home games. They've got Carl Hayden, 8 days after Thursday, and then they've got Odyssey Institute. So this is the first of 3 straight home games that they've got to find a way to get on the winning track after losing at Valley Christian and at Santan Foothills. As you mentioned, JP, they got shut out in the opener, came back much better against Santan Foothills, still lost by 10, but still they scored 34 points as opposed to 0 a week before. So you can see them making progressions as far as offense is concerned. They've got to get those points down. They can't give up 40 points a game, Park, and expect to win. You've got to be able to stop teams defensively. You're scoring points. You went from 0 to 34. That's a major improvement, but you've got to get some defense out there that can stop these football teams and see if they can do that on Thursday against Yuma.
Yeah, I got their looking at their stats from last year. They finished 5-5, like I'm sure you guys know. Saul Mendez was their starting quarterback last year. He stands at 5'10", 185. He seemed to be the most competent quarterback they had, going 107 for 192 and 1,600 passing yards last season. So I expect him to be back. He had 21 touchdowns on the year. But another year of growth for him, being now a junior. He's going to be able to go again for a senior year, probably, I'm assuming, as well. So if he can just continue to learn that playbook, get his confidence up a little bit more, he can clearly sling it at that 55% completion mark. So I think he'll have a solid game for them as well.
Yeah, in the first 2 games, JP and Park, Mendez is 21 to 41, a little over 50%, as you mentioned, 408 yards passing. These are the things he's got to work on. He's got 4 interceptions already in 2 games. That's not going to get it done. You can't turn the football over at a high rate early on in the season and expect to get victories. He's got 3 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He's got to find a way to clean that up, because we talk about it every week, the importance of holding on to the football and not turning it over. If you don't turn the football over, you've got a much better shot of winning the football game, because you're not turning it over. You're not giving the opposition extra chances to score, right, JP?
You're right, Ed, and I think it's one of those keys of the game that we talk about every single week is limit the turnovers. You want to limit those mistakes, and because it's usually the team that's able to capitalize on the other team's mistakes, such as turnovers, interceptions, anything like that, that's able to come out on top. And when we talk about this Yuma team, they have one of the most interesting mascots I think anyone's ever heard before. And I know you had quite a reaction to that as well, Ed. They are called the Yuma Criminals, and it's very intriguing. I was able to find a little bit of background information on that, so let's go ahead and roll that now and give us a little background on the history of Yuma High School and their mascot, the Criminals. Special shout out to CBS Yuma 13 there for that information. Unfortunately, the audio not working on that video right there, but the origination of that was that the school originally started inside an Arizona State prison located there in Yuma, and at first everyone was obviously reluctant to go with the mascot, but then it became a source of pride for the team, and they've carried it all that way, and it's kind of one of those things they carry with them now as the Yuma Criminals, and we're excited for the game on Thursday night as they come to battle the Tempe Buffaloes.
It'll be fun, most definitely. Again, our first trip to Tempe, we had a chance to check out a new press box and new digs, and it'll be a fun game on Thursday night. Again, 2 0-2 teams. They've got to get a victory tonight. They cannot afford to go 0-3 if they want to have any shot of making a run toward the playoffs. But it'll be a good, fun game to see which team will come out on top and get that first dub.
Yeah, Criminals, that might be the most interesting, but also like cool name you could have for a football team. Like, I think when you hear Criminals, of course you think of criminals, but in this sense, I mean, it could be they play a tough, gritty brand of football. I noticed too on their stats from last year, their quarterback from last year was a senior, so he will not be on the team this year. Probably going to be a new guy at the helm. I don't know who it could be, unfortunately, with us not being able to talk to anyone from the team tonight. But it's going to be interesting. And again, like you keep saying, Ed, both teams 0-2. They're both going to want to get a road win. Just a win in general. And whoever comes out on top will definitely be able to hopefully turn their season around.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting for sure. Unfortunately, again, we weren't able to catch up with any of the Criminals coaches or players tonight, but we look forward to seeing them on Thursday night as they battle the Tempe Buffaloes. And speaking of Tempe Buffaloes, we'll be joined by Felipe Acosta and Coach Sean Freeman here when we return from a brief timeout on the Desert Gridiron Game Plan. Stay with us. We'll be back with some Tempe Buffaloes for you after the break.
Welcome to Burritos Press.
With 7 Valley locations and a new South Chandler location opening soon, your new favorite burrito is just right around the corner. Burrito Express, a proud supporter of Thursday Night Kickoff on CW7 Arizona.
We welcome you back here on the Desert Gridiron Game Plan. James Poovey coming to you live alongside my broadcast partners, Mr. Ed Cole and Parker Gurash. We're pleased now to be joined by the head coach for the Tempe Buffaloes, Mr. Sean Freeman, joining us here on the program. Coach, how are you? Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it. And it's been great getting to know you guys over the past few months as we get ready for your game on Thursday night against the Yuma Criminals. How have things been going in the early portion of the season? Obviously, you guys still looking for your first win, and maybe that'll be coming up on Thursday night.
Well, thanks first and foremost, guys. Thanks for having us. Very blessed to be here on the Night's show. Very excited about Thursday night. I took 2 tough losses. Last week was a little rough. Coming back from a deficit like that to coming to 2 to losing at the last literally minute of the game. So we are looking for that first W this Thursday against Yuma.
Coach, of course, you guys got shut out in the opener against Valley Christian, but you came back, and what a difference a week made, especially offensively. You scored 34 points. What was the difference between Valley Christian and Santan Foothills, at least for your offense, for you to go from 0 to 34 points? That's a major turnaround offensively.
To be honest with you, I think it was humility, being humbled. We went into that Valley Christian game. I think we were a little cocky. And those boys humbled us, and so having to come back to school and hear the laughs, the jokes that people had for us, I think it pissed us off. And I know I posted on Twitter, there were some words that were said in that halftime speech on Friday last week that cannot be repeated, will not be repeated. But it lit a fire under them, and they came out ready to go, gunning, and we didn't look back. We tried to make things happen. Unfortunately, Santan took home the dub, but what I saw was resiliency and firepower from our offense and our defense. So it makes me excited to know what's going to happen on Thursday.
Coach, Arthur Murphy seems like he's been one of the go-to guys on the offensive side with those 11 receptions for 235 yards. Talk about his development from last year being, again, one of the top guys at the receiver position, but from now being able to already look off to a hot start in those first 2 games.
Arthur's super motivated. He wants to be one of the best tight ends in the state. He wants to be one of the best tight ends in 3A. He wants to be one of the best tight ends, in our city. So he's extra motivated. He's the type of player that's a very coachable player. Understands his role. Understands that right now he's probably the go-to guy right now. But isn't afraid to block. Isn't afraid to get dirty. Plays some defense for us too. But the kid's a monster, and he's developed weight room this summer, put on some extra muscle and whatnot, worked on his speed. I mean, he has deceptionally, he's fast, So you look at him and he's a big body kid, and you're like, this kid can't move, but he can get up the field and get going. I mean, as you guys saw that play that he had on one of our first drives against Santan, the kid got hit and kept moving and ran for a touchdown. So he's done an amazing job, man. He's he's wanting to get out of Arizona and play some football somewhere else for his next stint of his education career. So I think that's pushed him a lot more.
Coach, tell us about your junior quarterback, Saul Mendez, and what he means to the program and how his transition from the offseason preparation into the first 2 games of the season has gone.
Saul's our guy. This is a guy that's been starting since his freshman year. I mean, the maturation of Saul Mendez has been amazing. We've seen him from a shy freshman kid who really know a lot about football, that went out there and scrapped together and win and fought each and every week to now he's the leader, the captain of the football program. And just his work ethic alone. If you ever saw Saul work in the offseason, you would think he's a 6'3", quarterback, that's going D1. This kid his work ethic is I'll match with anybody that wants to go at it. I think he's one of the most underrated kids in the state of Arizona. Not enough people talk good about him, but his work ethic and pushing his team and motivating his team to do better. He stays after every practice and throws with his receivers, just get timing down, and asks them what routes that they wanna get hit on or what routes are their favorites, so he knows what to look for and whatnot. So his maturation, preparation for the game, and just being an overall the guy here at Tempe High School, it's been amazing.
Coach, we talked about Arthur Murphy. We also have Felipe Dominguez, AJ Williams, Alex Laura, among others. As far as your wide receivers, those young men are stepping up and making some plays. Felipe's got 6 catches, and the other 2 young men, AJ and Alex, both have a catch. But AJ's got one for 33 yards, and Alex has got one for 27 yards. So these young men can take the top off of defenses. Talk about that trio and how big they are in your offense as well.
Felipe is amazing. The guy's a 3-sport athlete. He plays soccer, varsity baseball. He's a phenomenal guy. I mean, he came into the program a few years ago out of Texas, Paso, Texas, and he's been flourishing ever since. I mean, last year he kind of got buried behind Cam Jackson and those guys, and this year's been his year, man. He's been one of those guys that we can count on both sides of the ball. Knows his route. Again, a kid that he's a dog, man. Like I don't know what to say about him. He goes out there and he just makes plays. I mean, last week, man, I think that was his coming out party. The kid just came out of nowhere and started balling, and now we've noticed it's been there, but now we've seen it, and now we're excited to have it. Alex Laura is probably going to be one of the best freshman wide receivers in the state. I mean, he's a kid that's starting as a freshman on our varsity team and whatnot, and he's really coming into his own. I think Thursday is going to be a big game for him. And AJ Williams, AJ's a transfer out of Texas, out of the Dallas area. Tall, fast receiver. We had questionable hands at first, but after working with our receiver coach, he's been doing very well. And I just saw he had his first catch last week, and there's many more to come from AJ.
Coach, talk to us about the matchup between Yuma last year. This time you beat them in a 2-point game, and they kind of set you guys off on a hot streak, winning 36-8, 44-33, and 50-0. The weeks following after. How much does this game mean to your guys? Is there a little extra boost of energy and excitement because of last year? And just talk to us kind of about the vibe around the locker room with your guys heading into Thursday.
Listen, Yuma's going to come down here and they're going to want to win a game. I mean, for our road trip to face a team that they lost last year at their house, they want their get back, and rightfully so. I look forward to this matchup. I think it's going to be a dogfight, to be honest with you, between two teams who need to win to stay relevant and stay in a playoff hunt, hopefully. So I know those kids are tough down there. They're scrappy kids. They have a damn good coach. So I know he's hungry for a win. He's hungry for his get back as well too. So we're looking for not literally, but we're looking for a fight. This is going to be something. We're going to walk in here and want to take home a dub. We're going to walk in here and protect the house, and we're going to scrap at it and go get it, and be the best man win at the end of the day.
Coach, go ahead, Ed.
Oh, I'm sorry, JP. I forgot the rotation. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're all right. You're all right. I was going to ask you about your defense, Coach. You got some studs over there as well. 6'4", 183 pounds. Zion Walters has been balling out, and Adrian Hacksaw Hackett. Talk to us about the defensive side of the football and how the Tempe Buffaloes get stops on defense.
Oh man, that's new defense coordinator Lonnie Davis. He's bringing that new defense, that 3-3 stack defense to Tempe High, and it's been working. Obviously the first week we were, against Valley, we had some struggles and whatnot, but we were always in the right position. Just could never capitalize on it. Last week, man, right in front of my eyes, man, them boys showed up and showed out and got 3 turnovers back to back, 11 scores against Santa at Foothills, and just keeping pressure on teams, man. I mean, it's coming from all over the place. You may see a cornerback blitz, you may see a safety blitz, you may see all the backwards go at once. You never know. And Zion Walters is a man amongst boys. 6'4" safety out there and flying around that can hit, that can run with you and whatnot. Definitely a guy that's getting a lot of college interest right now from schools. Hacksaw, Adrian Hackett is the buzzsaw, man. He's the guy that will get dirty with his nose and everything. He's always on every tackle. He's one of those players that, when he's on the field, it's a different mindset, a different mode, and he's ready to rock and roll. So he's definitely one of those kids that you want to let loose. Hey, there's no rain today. There's no rules today. Just go give me the ball back, and he'll go do that.
See, this is how much JP and I are in tune with each other. That was a question I was going to ask. So he stole my question. So I might as well. I should have just went on ahead and asked it. But talk about your junior linebacker, number 33, Jaden Chavez, leading the team in tackles. He got 18 tackles, 10 solo in the TFL. Talk about number 33 and what he brings to the defense.
Cerebral assassin. He's so cerebral. Doesn't talk much, but it's a different person when he's on that football field. It's almost like watching a superhero transform into themselves. They go from that mild-mannered person. Gets out there and gets his nose dirty, flies around, makes plays, man. I think we scored a defense touchdown, because he got a fumble off the running back last game in the end zone and landed on it. So, again, like I said, he's a cerebral assassin. The kid, it's his preparation for games are so just like you're watching him watch play after play after play. He'll literally watch film for maybe about 2 hours and just study and look and watch. And then to watch him go out there and put it on the field during the practice and during the game, it's almost like this kid's on a different level. He's only a junior right now, so it's awesome to see.
68 yards, but then last season was really his coming out party, throwing for over 1,600 yards. Of course, two first games have not gone the way that I'm sure you guys have wanted. But what have you seen in those first 2 games, and how do you think he's going to perform in that home opener with the crowd behind him?
I think he's going to turn up. I think he's going to. I think he's going. This is my guy, so I think he's going to light some things on fire, man. This kid is resilient. Again, you set yourself, look at stats from last year, from his first year to last year. I believe he's going to be on pace to do it again this year. And we still have 3 transfers that haven't touched the field yet for receivers. So when those boys get loose too, his numbers are probably going to double his numbers from last year. But this game on Thursday at home with everybody watching, he's going to have a game.
Coach, in the last couple of minutes, we want to talk to you about your special teams unit, a very unsung third of a football team. As we all know, those guys can really pay dividends, especially during close games. Talk about your special teams unit. Edgar Escobar looks like your kicker. Who else is going to be doing things on the special teams unit for the Buffaloes this season?
Man, Edgar's amazing. Kid can boot it. Last game, we saw a little hole in Santan's special teams, and I just told him, say, hey, man, I want you to put it right here where I'm standing. And he hit it like 3 times that night where I was standing. It bounced perfectly and whatnot. You talk about somebody that takes pride in what they do. That's Edgar. Edgar takes pride in kicking the ball. He loves it. He also does as a linebacker and a running back as well, too. But kicking the ball is his specialty, and he's really good at that. We're going to go back to Felipe Acosta on the special teams unit as well too. He's due to break one probably this week. Him and his buddy Darion Richardson as well on our kickoff team. We just got a lot of guys out there that are unsung heroes, guys without capes that are making plays and doing things and then trying to keep us in the ball game as well too. Those guys really step their game up, and I'm looking really forward to seeing these guys make plays on Thursday night.
Coach, talk about Savion McCrimmon and what he brings. He comes over from Westwood. The talent that young man has on both ends, wide receiver, cornerback. This is another young man on your team that can do it all as well. Such a talented young man. Talk about Savion.
Man, you want to talk about this dude is the new version of the honey badger, So he can do it all. So he's our practice hero right now. He's sitting out 5 because of the transfer rule and whatnot. But he is just the type of guy, man, that is a great teammate. You talking about preparing your boys for a game. That's what he does, man. And every day he comes out there with a smile on his face, helping the guys get better on both sides of the ball. I'm excited. I'm telling you, beyond excited to see this guy, Mark Jackson, get loose at Window Rock when they're able to play. These guys have been sitting back, being patient, being great teammates. Coaching guys up on the sidelines of games and whatnot, just being a great teammate while they have to, do their time and sit out because of the transfer rule. But this is a kid that I'm telling you right now, keep your eyes open. He's gonna light the 3 on fire.
Coach, it's tough for a guy to be able to do that, to come in and he's going to be chomping at the bit the entire time, wanting to play. And I think that reveals a lot about his character, not only as a player, but as a young man as well, to be able to stay patient and just be that good teammate that you mentioned and love up on the other guys and make sure they're doing what they need to do and coaching them up. And I think he's going to explode when he's able to get in that football game there in Game 6, I believe it is. So we're excited to see Savion McCrimmon as well. Coach Sean Freeman from the Tempe Buffaloes joining us here on the program. Thank you, Coach, for your time, and we look forward to seeing you on Thursday night as you guys host the Yuma Criminals on Thursday Night Kickoff on CW7 Arizona. We will be right back for more of the Desert Gridiron Game Plan. We'll talk to the Pinnacle Pioneers, followed by the Tolleson Wolverines when we return. Thank you, Coach, for your time.
Go Buffs.
Have you had the craving for the best burrito anywhere? Well, you've come to the right place. Welcome to Burrito Express, your Have you had the craving for the best burrito anywhere? Well, you've come to the right place. Welcome to Burrito Express, your local burrito joint. Come on in.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Burrito Express.
With 7 Valley locations and a new South Chandler location opening soon, your new favorite burrito is just right around the corner. Burrito Express, a proud supporter of Thursday Night Kickoff on CW7 Arizona.
We welcome you back to the Desert Gridiron Game Plan here on the Epic Sports Network. So thankful to Coach Sean Freeman for joining us to talk about his Tempe Buffaloes, and we're excited about that game. Our first trip to Tempe this Thursday night as they host the Yuma Criminals, a 3A matchup that was a 25-23 game last season, and I have no doubt we'll have more fireworks coming up this week, young guys.
Absolutely. I cannot wait until Thursday night for TNF.
Yes, indeed. We are going to be joined now by quarterback for the Pinnacle Pioneers. They have a big game this Friday night against the Tolleson Wolverines. They're on the road. They played a double overtime thriller last week up in Flagstaff as they battled La Cueva from New Mexico. Joining us now is quarterback Wyatt Horton on here with us. Wyatt, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you always joining us here on the Epic Sports Network. How has the week of preparation been so far? And maybe just rewind a little bit to that game last week. It was a thriller, although it was kind of delayed a bit there in the middle with the rain and the weather. But you guys played a thrilling ball game, unfortunately coming up on the short end there against La Cueva.
Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. A good battle, good fight out of our guys. But like you just mentioned, the double overtime, pouring rain, 8-minute quarters, hour and a half delay. It was a crazy game to be a part of, and wish we could have better memories about it. But we just gotta learn from it, flush it, move on, and like you said, on to Tolleson.
Wyatt, when you've got a delay like that, 90 minutes, almost 2 hours, what do you do on the sidelines? Did you guys go back in the locker room? Did you what did you do to kind of keep yourself still fresh, keep yourself mentally and physically there? Did you guys continue to warm up, toss the football around? What'd you do to kind of keep yourself still mentally prepared and physically ready for what was to come after the rains and everything subsided and you actually played football?
I mean, to be honest, the rain was came and went all game. And there was a hour-long delay or whatever, but that didn't change, the goal and how we approached it. I mean, it definitely, held some things back and kind of changed the, timing of the game. But, it honestly just gave us some more time to kind of fix some mistakes that we, were having in the locker room, just kind of hang out, talk about everything, and, make sure we're all our heads are straight for the second half.
Well, I got to watch you a couple years back during your sophomore year when you played at Chaparral. Of course, you had left tackle or right tackle for USC, Elijah Page with you, and then Deuce as well as Miles Libman. One thing I noticed, though, with you back then, you had full control of the offense only as a sophomore. Talk to us about kind of your projection through last season, having an incredibly solid season for Pinnacle. And now being a senior, probably looked at more as a captain and a leader of this team. But talk to me just about how much of control you are in this offense and what can we expect from you on Friday night.
Absolutely. I will say this. Our coaches, our coaching staff, whether that's top down, Coach Zupke, Coach Hanshaw, Coach Trace, most of the offensive guys, the second I've been named starter, they've done such a great job with me and kind of, given me some freedom to be who I am and to have a say in, this or that. And just kind of, allows me to play freely and to, whether I do have Deuce Miles or I have a completely new look, no matter the team, they've given me an incredible opportunity, each year and, to make some adjustments and changes and kind of had trust in me. I've known them, those coaches since 7th, 8th grade because my older brother played for the high school. So, I mean, we have a very, very strong relationship and it's, something that's been built over time. So, but it always helps playing with, the right guys and the right people and surrounding me with, talent. So.
Wyatt, you threw for 2,150 yards last season with 18 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. I'll repeat, only 2 interceptions, a 109.4 QBR. Talk about your offensive linemen and how important they are in those statistical numbers as far as keeping you clean and providing the open holes for the running backs, and more importantly, providing you with some outstanding pass protection.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you can't win a football game without your big boys up front. I mean, they're some of the most hardworking, people on the team, and I'll give names in a second. But the offensive line as a whole has been so incredibly important to the success for Pinnacle, and they don't get to be called on the loudspeaker all the time, and be able to score touchdowns and have all the glory. They're the most selfless, kids on the team. And, I love them so much. They're some of my best friends. I, just had them over, before the last game. They're all over for dinner, and, that's just, we're just such a tight group. And, the past 3 years, honestly, the O-line, it all starts with them. I can't throw the ball with no time. Running backs can't run it, and receivers aren't getting any catches if they're not doing what they do up front. And we have such a talented group too, and a lot of depth this year, which is really good. We have Cade Majora, who's has been a solid starter for us the past 2 years, and Michael Laufenberger, Tanner Peltier. They're both juniors this year, but they both started their sophomore year. And then we had a lot of changes, a lot of new guys. We have Nolan Mankey, Carlos Rios, Titan Lanier, Langston Asante. The list honestly goes on and on. Like, we have a good, solid foundation for, the offensive line. And I believe that's why we've been, and we're going to continue to be successful, especially our offensive line coach Paul Germ. He's, he works his butt off and makes sure that they know what they're doing, and, they're showing up, being the best they can be each and every day.
Why, with the talent you have rushing, you talked about your offensive line, gave all those guys love. You guys ran the ball really well against La Cueva, 170 yards rushing. You had 2 rushing touchdowns. Gavin Hammond had another one. You had a passing touchdown. So talk about the importance of this running game and how important it's going to be as the season goes on for you guys to have for different looks and different variations of your offense, knowing that the defense has to account for you as far as passing and your running game as well, because you guys can run the ball just as well as you can pass it.
Absolutely. And the run game, it helps the receivers and me on my end to, it sets up the pass. If you can't run the ball, they're not going to be very threatened. And the fact that we have 4 to 5 running backs that all, carry it down your throat, and just honestly, they're just such good, consistent running backs. Whether it's Xavier Valdivia, Gavin Hammond, Miles Stephanie, Alex Lugo, we have such a good running back room who's all, just like the O-line, they work their tails off, and same thing, same situation, kind of. We can't be a successful offense without a run game.
Wyatt, kind of a 2-part question here for you. Idaho State is where you decided to commit for your future football career after a handful of other visits and unofficially visiting a couple of schools. With you committing there and the kind of the history of quarterbacks that have come out of Pinnacle with, of course, Spencer Rattler, but I think a lot of people forget about also J.D. Johnson, who didn't get to play at the next level but was committed to go play at Michigan. What kind of legacy do you want to leave at Pinnacle here in your senior year? And why was Idaho State the place you feel like you can lead on your legacy after Pinnacle?
I think so. I'll kind of get into. We've had, like you said, such great quarterbacks at Pinnacle. Whether that is Spencer, JD, or even Brian Lewerke, who went to Michigan State, or Devin Dampier, who just balled out versus U of A up at New Mexico. Like, we've had such good QBs and such a good a program, and a consistent quarterback who plays at the next level. And I think that not fulfilling the team we should have and the season we should have had. So having a state championship, being brought to the school is how I want to leave it. And with the state championship or not, my big thing is then you found it, and any way I can, whether it's changing little things or big things. I want to come in and just make the guys around me better, and make an impact on my teammates and honestly even my coaches. And so when you talk about the legacy, I think that's kind of where I want to hit on most, and kind of be remembered here at Pinnacle for that. And to get like you said, I took a handful of visits to other places that were heavily recruiting me, and I just I feel like the best opportunity for me personally, whether that's as a player, playing football, going out there and being able to contribute early, is huge for me. And at the same time, just as a person, as a man, I think Coach Hawkins is a phenomenal head coach that he's got the right culture and he's got the right approach on it. And he surrounds the team with the same exact kind of staff, with staff, and the entire staff just reflects him. And it's a place I'm excited to get up there. I'm going to be taking my official there here now in 2 weeks after a Horizon game. It's a good place. It's a good school. Just now starting to hit that. And so I feel like going up there contributing to that. Like I said about that, any way I can show up somewhere and make an impact is the place I want to be at.
Quarterback Wyatt Horton from the Pinnacle Pioneers joining us here. Wyatt, thank you for your time as always. It's always such a pleasure to visit with you. You are one of the most heady football players I have been around here in the state of Arizona, and there's no doubt why you're at the top of your class as far as quarterbacks here in the state. And I see you got the Elite 11 shirt on there as well. No mystery why you get invited to those fantastic events and why you're able to compete at the highest level. Congratulations on your commitment to Idaho State and playing quarterback for the Bengals. We're so excited to watch you up there next fall, and thank you again for your time here. Good luck this week, and we will catch up with you again throughout the rest of the season. Wyatt Horton joining us here on the Desert Gridiron Game Plan. We'll step aside, take a brief timeout, and return and visit with some Tolleson Wolverines when we get back from the break. Stay with us. More to come right after this.
Just a time. if you want to go. Stay if you're gonna stay.
If you go out there, do you have to stay out there, okay?
We welcome you back to the Desert Gridiron Game Plan. Our next game that we're featuring is the Pinnacle Pioneers at the Tolleson Wolverines. That game coming up this Friday. We're pleased now to be joined by Coach Rich Welbrock and Rico Blessingame from the Tolleson Wolverines. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time out here to join us this evening, and we look forward to visiting with you. Just tell us how the early portion of the season has been and what you guys are looking forward to going forward, especially this Friday night against the very talented Pinnacle Pioneers.
Rico, can you hear me?
No, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So your game, you can hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just
Oh my goodness.
100 yards. What was going right for you that night against Mountain Ridge?
I was just backing the ball. Every opportunity that I got to make a play, I was doing everything I could to do that.
Rico, I don't know if you'll remember me. I got to interview you at the Fear the Hop tournament at Mesa High School last year. Of course, got to see your basketball talent. I know football is your main. Now coming into your junior year, you've had a huge summer, it seems like, as far as your recruiting has gone in the camps and the summer ball that you and Tolleson have had. How much has this summer impacted your improvement in your game overall?
It's definitely been a big summer for me with my improvement, just experiencing new competition. I've got to travel across the world a lot more than usual, so it's definitely been good experiencing competition from the East, the South, and then as well as the North, so it's definitely been good.
Rico, we know you're one of those multi-sport athletes. We're going to take a look at you playing some basketball here in a moment as well. But how do you feel that that's helped you not only in the recruiting game, but helped you as a football player, and then consequently playing football has helped you out as a basketball player? You know, multi-sport athletes, they're not a dime a dozen anymore.
Most definitely, it's just kept me active all year long. Definitely helped me with injury prevention, just being able to move on the basketball court definitely has helped on the football end, high pointing the ball, being able to jump, run across the court all game long has definitely helped my stamina a lot for sure.
Rico, back to football. Your travels, you said you traveled all across the country, the world. When you see other talented players like yourself, are there different things that you've learned or different aspects of another wide receiver's game that you picked up from your travels that you can implement and kind of work into your game?
Most definitely seeing a lot of other receivers and then as well as older receivers going to college camps and practices and all that, just taking little pieces of everybody's game and applying it to myself, making it my own is definitely a big part of my game for sure.
Rico, Johnny Rogers has been the quarterback this year so far, who is also, of course, a basketball teammate of yours. Like you're just talking about being able to stay active throughout the year, how much has the connection grown with him, with, of course, being able to play football, but also having that basketball side of your guys' relationship as well?
True. Me and Johnny been close friends since probably third, second grade. So me and him, like, that's natural. It's always been a thing for us. So it's fun seeing us now that we're in high school and that we can do it together. It's most definitely been fun.
Coach Welbrock joining us here. Apologies, coaches, we had a little bit of audio difficulties a little bit earlier, but tell us what you're looking forward to this week against the Pinnacle Pioneers and what you've gathered from the first little bit of the 2024 season with your Wolverines.
No, we can't hear you, Coach. See, there might be a mute button on the app. I would say look in the bottom corner, maybe.
Sorry about that, Coach. We're not able to get you to come through this time, unfortunately. I don't know. That could be a problem on our end. Apologies for that. Rico, what are you looking forward to the most in this week's game against the Pinnacle Pioneers and hosting that in front of your home crowd over there in South Phoenix?
It's most definitely a good opponent that we play against. Playing against them last year, it was a tough game, but honestly, I'm just focused on getting points on the board offensively. Last week we couldn't do that, so just trying our best to get points on the board, take it one drive at a time, and then just keep proving what I can do, like myself. So just keep doing what I can do, and then expecting my teammates to do what they can do. So just keep going to practice, working hard this week.
Rico, speaking of your teammates doing what they need to do last week, 46 rushes, 240 yards. Amari Mitchell had 95 yards. Anthony Scott Jr. had 90 yards. Speak more on your running game and what that does for your offense. We talked to a couple of other players, but the importance of your running game and what does that do to open up the passing game for you, knowing, again, defenses have to account for a really good running attack, and what does that do to open up things for you?
Well, definitely the run game is important. I wouldn't be who I am as a receiver without them. But Amari Mitchell, he's a dog on both sides of the ball. He's gonna play his hardest no matter what. And then Anthony Scott, he's a younger dude. He's gonna be one of the next coming dudes at Tolleson. So most definitely they're a big part of my game for sure.
Rico, you stand at 6'3", 185 pounds. Extremely skillful, as we can see on the highlight film here. Your speed is one of the things that makes you stick out and why so many schools have been going after you. Who do you watch a lot of film on? I ask this question to a lot of our skill position guys that we have on, but is anybody you enjoy watching film on, try to pick pieces of their game and add it to yours? Just overall, what type of wide receiver are you trying to be?
I say younger. I was always a bigger wide receiver, so receivers like DK Metcalf, Calvin Johnson, bigger receivers like those, A.J. Brown. But more recently, I've been watching a lot of Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, more faster receivers, more route running receivers, trying to expand my game to be the best receiver I can be. So, yeah.
Is it better now, fellas? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
There you go, Coach. There you go.
I'm gonna keep the camera off just because otherwise my face is right in the phone. So,
Yes, we can hear you, Coach.
okay, awesome.
We still hear you, Coach.
Now,
We got you.
obviously a rough go of it. I thought we ran the ball well last week. Like I said, we had over 300 yards offense. Rico was a lot of that, and what teams are going to have to do with Reek. And just kind of his elevation of his game, I think, over the last 12 months. And it's just finding the right mix of guys right now. I think we walked out there 5 guys that had played significant minutes in a varsity football game Friday night, and you could tell big bright lights kind of got after him a little bit. And we're hoping, obviously, playing a well-coached and very talented Pinnacle team coming off a really tough loss for them, and welcoming them into our place and seeing what we can do. And we just got to get better every week. We're a football team that consistently, by about mid-season, are a pretty tough football team. We just got to keep getting better and focus on ourselves every week.
Coach, talk about your special teams. We talk about offense and defense, but there's another third to your football team. The importance of kickoffs, punt returns, punts, and field goals and field position, all of that stuff is paramount when it comes to getting a victory. Talk about your special teams and how special they need to be on Friday night.
Obviously, very special. We were lucky enough to get our starting kicker 3 years ago was a young freshman, but he got pulled from us for club soccer. And he finally has come back to senior year, and he's doing all of our punting and kicking for us and field goals. And so we're excited about that and seeing that, third phase of our football team just elevated. Great kicker, great kid. And it's fun to have him out there with us. And, just trying to, like Reek said, trying to get some points on the board and do everything we can to put a victory on there.
Coach, like you said, only a handful of kids had played in regular varsity minutes on your team last week for the first time. With Rico being one of the more experienced, one of the more veteran guys, and only a junior on your team, how much of his leadership has been playing a factor for you guys throughout the summer and then with last week's first game?
The summer, it's become these summers and these 7-on-7s and stuff. You see those little things, but I didn't really see, Reek's leadership really step up, and probably until we got into camp in August. And you just see now that he's playing a little bit of defense as well. He's raised his game. He's helping guys out. He's, talking. We can say he's only a junior, but he's also been around. He has a family of coaches. His dad's a basketball coach, mom's a basketball coach, and those types of things, being around the family and being around our staff for 3 years. He's an extension of our staff, and you see those little qualities that he's been around. Every now and then you see even a little version of me with him, and which is absolutely crazy. And so that, I know I'm getting a smile on that one. And so, but it's fun to watch him grow, not just as a football player, but as a human being and as a student athlete. And, from him to go, I mean, the one sport we didn't talk about that he does is I decided he needed to do high jump for the district track meet, and went ahead and qualified for state, and then ended up getting 6th in the state in high jump. And I think he practiced high jump twice and qualified for state. So those types of things, he's ready to take on whatever role we ask him to do. And it's just, it's very special to watch him kind of evolve.
Coach Rico is just one of those ATH players that you have to list on your roster as ATH because he does it all for your football team. You mentioned the basketball prowess and then the high jumping ability as well for Rico Blasingame. Fantastic stuff from the Tolleson Wolverines. Thank you, Coach Rich Welbrock and Rico Blasingame, for joining us here on the Desert Gridiron Game Plan. It's been another great show. We look forward to you guys taking care of business on Friday night against the Pinnacle Pioneers, and that should be a fantastic home game for you. We appreciate your time here on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Another great show here for the Desert Gridiron Game Plan for Parker Gurash and Ed Cole. I'm James Poovey saying have a great night. We appreciate you tuning in, and thanks as well to our special guest for joining us here tonight, Wyatt Horton from the Pinnacle Pioneers, quarterback for them, Coach Rich Welbrock and Rico Blasingame from the Tolleson Wolverines. And we had Coach Sean Freeman on with us as well earlier to preview his game this Thursday on Thursday Night Kickoff on CW7 Arizona as they will host the Yuma Criminals. Everybody have a great night. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll be back at it next Tuesday for another edition of the Desert Gridiron Game Plan. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon.